It's time for a reality check.
We're here to deconstruct health and fitness trends and provide tangible advice so you can become 1% better with each choice starting today. Welcome back to Reality Check. We are your hosts, Jess and Jill. And today we want to talk about why you don't need motivation. And we're going to talk about some actual systems. And we like a good scientific background and backup to what we're saying so that you really understand how to implement things into your life to make healthy changes in a sustainable way and in a way that will serve you long beyond your initial attempt. Because I think that's what people do. They tend to go 0 to 100 and kind of fumble. And it's just rinse and repeat over the years of trying to lose weight and trying to do this and trying to do this. And instead of trying, we're going to do, and we're going to tell you how to do in really simple, logical ways. So there's a couple of systems essentially, or theories, I guess, for lack of a better word, that we are basically building this episode on top of. And it's how we drive behavior change with our clients every single day. So I know Jess wanted to start with the BJ Fogg Behavior Model and just kind of explaining what that is and how it works and how it ties into starting to make healthy changes in your life in a way that works for you.
So this one, at first we were going to do an episode on this, and then I was like, well, it overlaps so much with the learning competency model and some of the atomic habits concepts. But in one of my behavior change certification classes, I remember we did a whole thing on BJ Fogg, and I think maybe he was involved in this particular behavior change course. But the model is that to get the behavior to actually change, there's a sliding scale between motivation and ability. So if you are highly motivated, but not really capable of something, you sign up for a workout program and you feel really hyped because it's week 1, you're more likely to do it because you're really motivated, right? The less motivation you have, the more we need to make the action simple and attainable for you. Because the more difficult it is, the less likely you are going to do it. Okay. So there's this sort of sliding scale. Now, motivation is fleeting. Motivation is a feeling. Motivation is not something that we can just whip up and say, yay, I want to be motivated today, right? So what we want to do, and this is where our coaching comes in, is meeting our clients where they are to find the easiest or most accessible thing that towards whatever goal it is that they're working on, to make it an easy point of entry, and to give them specific prompts and cues for said new habit. Okay, so this is all about creating systems to make habits as opposed to relying on motivation. So systems to create habits. And I wish I had a visual, you guys are listening to us. I wish, go look up the BJ Fogg Behavior Model. But let's make an example of this. Somebody comes to us and they say, okay, I think I want to work out 5 days a week. I'm really motivated. I want to work out 5 days a week. And I am ready to go into a diet, and I want to cut my calories, and I want to eat 4 servings of vegetables a day. And then we get to talking, and what we want to do is slide that down to, okay, what are you doing now? And what's an easy thing? Okay, if you're completely sedentary on the couch and you do nothing, maybe going for a 5-minute walk every morning is the thing for you, not planning to go to a gym for a 60-minute workout when it's completely new exercises, right? So we want the level of difficulty and the level of motivation, there's this relationship there, right? So the more motivated you are, the more likely you are able, theoretically, to tackle something a little bit more difficult. The less motivated you are, dial it back, make the task easier on yourself so that you can do something so that we can move the needle forward. The other part of this behavior model is about prompting or triggering said habit. So giving yourself a cue. Again, with our system of coaching clients, we use an app where we physically put in little check marks for habits. So every day, hey, you only have to focus on these 2 or 3 things. For one client, one of those things might be lights out at 10:30 because that sleep is something they really need to work on. For another client, maybe that check mark is drinking at least 70 ounces of water until eventually we can build it higher, right? So that's one example of a cue. But other examples you can create for yourself to give yourself a cue of, oh, yeah, this is when I'm supposed to do that thing. So a reminder that you want to create this new habit. It could be a sticky note on your work computer so that as soon as you get to work, you have a glass of water. It could be practicing habit stacking. Every day you brush your teeth, right? Okay. As soon as I'm done brushing my teeth, I'm going for a walk because now that the brushing my teeth becomes the cue. So always kind of manipulating those three things: motivation, ability, or level of difficulty, and then giving yourself a prompt. Manipulating those three things is a really easy and tangible way to get yourself moving in the right direction. And again, you might say, well, if I only work out one day a week, that's not enough. Okay, but it's better than what you're doing now, and it's going to get you moving in that direction. And then when that becomes the norm, maybe now your skill, your ability is a little bit better. Now we can increase it to 2 times a week because your skill is now ready to match that. That's kind of like the biggest. Again, I wish I could, if I had a whiteboard behind me, I feel like that would be better.
Visual would be helpful. Yeah. No, and actually, I was just thinking about this yesterday or the day before, because I am somebody who desperately needs to be very intentional all the time about my nervous system. And meditation has always felt really difficult. And I think a lot of people relate to that, especially like high performer type A personalities, because we're so conditioned to do, and that's what feels good and that's what feels rewarding. But we have to balance that. And I've always struggled, and I've used like short meditations and I've done all these things, but I think sometimes, actually I learned this from my EMDR therapist, where she was like, hey, you like we talk about going 0 to 100 and not going from not working out 0 days a week to 5 days a week, because that's a big shift. It's the same thing with meditation. Like for me to have the expectation for myself that I can just go sit and be silent for 60 minutes and get into this meditative like flow state is not realistic. So I started to do meditations on my walks so that at least I'm kind of training my brain to be a little bit more present, but I'm still doing something. I'm still outside. I still get a little bit of the stimulation I need. And then the other thing I started doing was listening to meditations or binaural beats or breath work while I am coloring in an adult coloring book. And I've been talking about this for the last couple of days because I'm like, this is so genius, because I get this stimulation of getting to be a little bit of a perfectionist and coloring in the lines and being creative, but also giving my brain a little bit of that, what that needs. And I very much recognize how much easier it is for me, for my brain to get to that place. And, thoughts come up and things and you can't focus. And I've been able to very intentionally, for the first time, it feels like ever, let the thoughts come up of like, oh, this thing I'm worried about or stressed about, and being like, okay, I see it, I hear it, and let it pass. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starting to feel the shift happen. But for so long, I was like, why am I not getting any of this benefit? So anyway, it's a similar concept, right? Where it's like, if it feels too hard, or you're like, why can't I stick to this? Look at it and evaluate it and say, like, where am I like overshooting maybe a little bit? Or where is this not realistic? Or like Jess said, maybe I need to do this at a different time of my day, or maybe I need a little bit of an extra reminder. I have a client who works a pretty crazy job and she tends to like forget to eat. And I'm like, hey, this might be really simple because you've been with me for 2 years, but you've never been in this type of position with work. Can we set a couple of alarms for food, or set out some extra sticky notes? And she was like, oh my God, yeah.
Alarm. And that's now your cue. That's
to like break her focus. Yeah. So, but she's not a rookie at this, right? But like she's in this different season where she needs different cues and different tools for herself. And that's really the point, is for you to always like self-reflect and be like, if this feels hard, if this feels like I'm lacking motivation, where can I meet myself where I'm at a little bit more so that this doesn't feel so hard? And then like Jeff said, if you're working out 1 day a week for the next 6 months, for one, you're going to be way further along than if you do nothing, but also that is going to be so second nature that now adding one more day isn't the same as you trying to go to the gym 5 days a week starting tomorrow. It's a totally different implementation system, and you're going to be immensely more successful. And also you're going to make more progress because that time is going to pass and you now have
Mhm.
however many lifts under your
Well,
belt that you wouldn't have
you're
had.
putting in the reps to make the activity easier, right? So you're improving your ability, which now takes less motivation. So, like Jill and I are better at exercise because we've been exercising for a long time. Now that that task is less difficult, even though we're challenging ourselves in each lift, the task of getting up and getting to the gym is now a little more automated, right? That's an easier task. We need less motivation to get there 3 times a week because now it's part of our habit. So, I think there's this misconception that like, oh, everything just gets easier. The task itself doesn't get easier, but now you are more proficient, you are more skilled at the task. So yes, you do need less and less motivation as time goes on because now the task feels a little bit better, even though you're challenging yourself in the same way, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so, okay, the BJ Fogg behavior model is one. The learning competency model. I feel like we've talked about this in other episodes, maybe. Um, it's basically about turning an intentional, like difficult task that isn't automatic into an automatic habit, right? So there are stages to it. Again, these are all just like psychology theories. Um, but I think it's really good because it allows you to realize like you shouldn't just trust your willpower to expect to do all these hard things. I think we're so tough on ourselves thinking like, oh, I should just be able to pull up my bootstraps and do it. And it's like habits are kind of hard to change, guys. Like there are steps to it. Let yourself off the hook, knowing that there are going to be phases where you're like, oh, okay, I'm messing up. Oh, okay, now it's getting easier. So this model is more, so the last one was like a graph with you've got motivation on one side and you've got ability or level of difficulty on the other side of the graph, right? This is more like a square, okay? And we're trying to get from one corner around to the other corner, and we have to go through each block to get there. So we start, I've also seen it done as like a hierarchy where you want to go from the bottom to the top. But basically, if there's a habit that you want to change, first, you actually start with unconscious incompetence, meaning you don't even realize it's something that you do or that you need to change because you've always done it the same way, right? Then you move to this place where you want to perhaps make a change called conscious incompetence. I know I'm going to always use my examples because again, we are working on ourselves all the time, right? I know I need to go to bed earlier and turn off screens at night. This is a conscious thing, but I am incompetent behaviorally. It has not become a competent regular thing for me, right? So now I have conscious incompetence. I can start to create some systems to make it easier, like maybe putting my phone on the other side of my room when I plug it in, maybe not having caffeine in the morning. These things are going to help me turning off the lights, making the room a cool temperature, not drinking a gallon of water right before bed so I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night to pee, right? I can create these systems to help me with this new behavior of better sleep. But it's still a conscious effort, okay? Now it's becoming conscious competence. In order to get this new activity right, I have to try really hard. I'm really working at it to change this behavior. Eventually, that becomes the new habit. That becomes the new norm. It becomes unconscious competence. That's when a habit happens. That's when an inherent, oh, I just get up and I put my shoes on. I just get up, I brush my teeth, right? Now it's because you've done it so often, it becomes a more inherent behavior and it becomes easier. So I bring this to your guys' attention, not because you need to know the theories behind every single thing with behavior change. It's so that you can let yourself off the hook and be like, oh yeah, it does feel pretty hard right now. And that's normal. It's normal for it to feel hard when I'm creating a new habit because I've done it this way for 30 years, right? And now for the last 1 year, I've been, and I'm being generous. Most women that we work with in 1 month are like, why isn't everything fixed by now? And it's like, well, for 35 years, you've been doing it another way, right? We've been doing it, let's say, the right way, conscious competence for 1 month. It's going to take longer before it just feels easy. Let yourself off the hook. There's going to be times that you slip into old patterns, get right back on track, because the more you do it, the more you're rewiring your brain and creating these new neural pathways so that this can become your new norm. And that really does just take time and putting in the reps.
For sure. And I think that's such a great point, how quickly people get frustrated. And I think aside from all of the behavior learning, it's really about also learning what the right expectation is for what you're doing. we are so trained and conditioned to think that we should be immediately rewarded for any amount of effort that we put in. And we often think we're doing the right things, and we've just learned the right things are actually not the right things for us. Or you're trying to match somebody who's been doing this, like Jess said, we've been lifting for a long time, right? Like you're trying to do something when you're on chapter 2, when somebody else is on chapter 25, right? So I think having some awareness around that initially is so important. When you talked about like unconscious incompetence initially, you also, like, I think it's so important to like audit and look at where am I at, where am I going, and reverse engineer that a little bit, because we operate with blinders a lot, where it's like blinders are on and I just need to lose weight and I don't care I gotta cut calories. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Like, let's look at like what that version of you looks like. What do you ultimately want to happen? And then let's reverse engineer. And then what are the things you need to do every day, every week, every month? That's where your focus should be, not on, I got to lose weight, I got to see the scale go down. Because if you shift what that vantage point is for you as you're trying to make that change, it's going to make it easier for you to recognize different means of success as you move through the process. And you're not going to accidentally sabotage yourself early in the process. Or I think that's where a lot of women fall short, is overshooting, but also unrealistic expectations and sabotage.
Comparison.
Their focus is in the wrong place. Yeah.
Comparison. I have never gotten more messages and DMs on my Instagram other than when I was postpartum and sharing me working out with a belly. And I gained, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think I gained like 35 pounds during both pregnancies. I looked very different, right? I didn't change how I trained, but I was showing up and sharing, hey, 3 days a week. I didn't lift for probably the first 6 weeks. But once I started working out again, people are seeing, oh, she's still just working out 3 days a week and she's sharing it in the mess, right? Okay, now my littlest daughter is more than 3.5 years old. If you look at my pictures right now, oh, well, she's always been fit, so it's easy for her. Or how come I can't just get those results overnight? Oh, well, because it took me 3.5 years, right, to get from there to here. It's not, again, it's just reminder that everybody has a day one. You compare yourself to you last week, compare yourself to you last month. Don't compare yourself to you at a different version of your life. I can't compare myself now to myself pre-kids. I can't compare myself now to when I was an athlete without a job and 2 kids, when I had more time on my hand to work out, right? Those life seasons are going to change in terms of our expectations. They should.
No, that's a great point.
There's 2 books that I want to recommend here. The Compound Effect and Atomic Habits. If you guys have not read those books, they're excellent ones. And I think reading them, I've read them multiple times. I think reading them really puts into perspective how to break down your specific habits and say, what are my triggers? What am I actually trying to get out of this? An example is like, okay, when I was in an office job, okay, it's 2:00. I'm going to go get coffee to walk around. It wasn't because I needed coffee. It was because I was bored sitting at a desk all day. Okay, cool. When I evaluate it, I can swap in another habit that allows me to move around, like going to a friend's office and chatting for 5 minutes and then going back to my desk, going and filling up water instead of coffee, right? So these books I really like because they help you break it down and create systems. Atomic Habits, and you can even look up Atomic Habits cheat sheet, and it kind of breaks it down. But the concept is to make the new habit obvious, attractive, easy, or satisfying, right? We want to make the things that you want to become your behaviors easier on yourself. Create systems. I don't trust my future willpower because that chick's willpower sucks. Instead, I create systems for her by putting my fruits and veggies at eye level in my fridge. Because if they're in the drawer, they go there to die. I'm not going to see them and I'm not craving them. But if they're right at my eye level, I'm more likely to be like, oh yeah, I should grab those. I create systems by having my gym bag ready to go in my car so that on the way home, I stop at the gym instead of coming home and sitting on the couch, because then my likelihood of getting back up and going back out is slim to none, right? Create systems to make the choices you want to make easier on yourself, and make systems to make the choices you don't want to make more difficult. If every single day, this is maybe an extreme example, If your habit is stopping at a certain fast food restaurant every single day on your way home because you see it, go a different route to work for a couple weeks until that habit is broken, and then you can go your old way again, right? Make it more difficult on yourself I talk about this with my clients a lot. I keep ice cream. If we buy ice cream to keep in the house, which oftentimes we don't, it's like, let's go to Dairy Queen if we want ice cream. Ice cream's not off limits. But when I buy it, I keep it in my basement freezer, because if it's upstairs, that one little barrier to entry, me being like lazy and not wanting to go into the basement, if that beats me wanting ice cream, I really didn't want the ice cream that bad, right? Like, create little barriers to entry for the habits that you want to change by setting your environment up for success. So create systems rather than relying on motivation or willpower is kind of the point of Atomic Habits. And that book can help walk you through how to break down your particular habits so that you can kind of identify what are the different things. The second book, The Compound Effect, is more about habit tracking and compounding over time, right? So think of money, right? Money compounds over time, and then your investment is paying off tenfold. Choices and behaviors compound in the same way. So again, we'll go back to the example of somebody working out just one day a week. If you're working out one day a week, in 3 years, your life will be completely different than if you were not working out at all, or if you spent that time going to the bar and having 2 drinks instead. Like, you're moving, your trajectory is moving in a different path than if you had made another choice. As long as you can keep the trajectory moving forward, you will see benefits and results over time. Now, the speed at which it happens might change, and that's okay. But make sure you're moving in the right direction. And the best way to do that sometimes can be through data, because you can just compete with yourself. After reading that book, I bought, Darren Hardy has a journal called Living Your Best Year Ever. And that's the first time I ever bought a habit journal. I bought that, and I have probably had 10 copies of this. Like, I've been doing this for so long. I love that journal. All it is a habit journal where, okay, you're going to set little action goals each day or each week. And then every day I'm just going to check off the couple of things. And then at the end of the week, I'm going to reevaluate my week and say, what things did I do well? What things should I maybe change? Okay, now I'm going to set my goals for next week. And it's such a simple task, but it keeps you moving in the right direction, and goals change. Maybe I hit a goal and I'm like, cool, I bought this house, we moved in. That's not a goal anymore. I'm going to mark that off. Okay, now maybe I have another goal, or maybe I shift gears and I focus on this other thing. But the only way to get there are the actions. We need to start focusing more on the actions, not on the outcomes. The outcomes come as a result of the repeated actions over time.
Yeah, that actually ties into a good point. Identity driven change. So like Jeff said, I think we get so lost in chasing an outcome that we lose sight of everything else, and we go to extreme lengths. We do things that are not conventional or not always safe or healthy to get all in the name of this outcome. And it's like, that's defeating the whole purpose of being healthy. And you're also trying to take a shortcut to get to an outcome or a goal that might actually bite you in the ass and probably won't be sustainable in the long run, because you didn't, and this could obviously spiral into a lot here, but like we talk about GLP-1, right? We love this tool. However, you still have to make the changes. You still have to eat healthy. You still have to fuel your body. Managing your stress is still important. Having fun in life, building and retaining muscle. So you still have to do the work. And
because if you don't, in that example, if you don't, you will gain more weight back. Just like if somebody wins the lottery, but they don't learn how to manage a budget, they will end up spending all the money and still be in a bad financial position. It's the same thing when it comes to quick weight loss.
Yeah. So you're just so driven and so set on that outcome that you don't actually implement any changes along the way. And this is why Fueled is so focused on behavior change and meeting people where they're at, but also just being healthy and focusing on longevity, because weight loss is going to be a byproduct of the systems and the habits that we create individual to each client, right? We have clients that come to us that don't even know what a macro is. And we have clients that come to us that have been to functional medicine and tried all these things, and they're just desperate for an answer. 2 totally different chapters, right? Clients that have never really lifted weights and clients that have been lifting for 10 years, totally different chapters, right? And that's why it's important to audit and evaluate, where are you now? What is the most logical next step? compound on that, right? And then create these systems and these habits for yourself. And I didn't chime in on this earlier, but to Jess's point, my future self, she cannot be trusted. Jill at 5 o'clock will not go to the gym no matter how much 8 a.m. Jill says she will. She's not going to do it. After my workday, I am so used to working out in the morning. I don't fucking want to work out at dinner time. That works for some people. That's the only option for some people. And that's what you do, right? I generally, because I have the ability to do this in my schedule, that is when I'm going to do it. My brain, full send. As soon as I open my eyeballs, I'm a ton of notifications. I got to do all these things. I've got my lists, right? For me, I need to ground myself in the morning and get my workout in and see that commitment to myself through. And now I can show up effectively through the rest of my day. Anytime I have ever said, let me just get this one thing done first, and then I promise I'm going to go to the gym after, it doesn't fucking happen. That's why I schedule my workouts. And even if I have a little something in the morning that I'm out running errands, appointments, whatever, I will say, okay, but right after, I am not going home until I get this lift in. So I look ahead of my schedule Monday through Sunday every single week and say, this is when I can do it. Same thing with Weekend Jill. Weekend Jill likes to have fun. Weekend Jill likes to be spontaneous. A workout's going to get in the way of that. So I know by Friday morning, if I didn't get all my lifts done, I'm not saying I haven't worked out on the weekends. If I have to do it, I'll do it.
But it's less likely to happen. Know yourself. Yeah. Okay. So this ties in great because of something you just said. My therapist used to always say, if you say so. So like you just said, I'm not an afternoon workout person. Yes, Jill, if you say so. If that ties so much into the identity driven change is also changing your language, right? So if you want to become an afternoon workout person, you need to start saying, I could work out in the afternoon. I just haven't chose to, right? So changing our language too around the habits that we want to change. An example of this, I have clients, I actually have a client who now loves to cook. So I love this example, but who told me like, I don't like cooking. I'm never going to cook. Give me convenience options. And we did convenience options for a while. She's now been coaching for about 18 months and she's about to graduate from our coaching program. She's doing an amazing job. But it was fun because I challenged her on like, okay, that's cool, but like never? And she's like, well, I guess not never. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not trying to push you to cook. I don't think that you have to. There's lots of convenience options. I was just curious. If you say you're not the type of person who does something, you're correlating that with your identity. Nope, I just don't work out. I'm not somebody who likes working out. Well, if you say that, you're never going to broach that new topic or that new habit or even be open to it. So part of it is changing our language around shoulds or can'ts to I am choosing to, even though I don't love working out, I'm choosing to work out because it makes me feel better, or I'm choosing to work out. Even though I don't want this healthy meal, I am choosing to have it because I want the outcomes associated with it, right? Even though I want pad thai and drunken noodles right now, I'm going to eat my beef and whatever that I cooked last night for lunch today. I want that. It's not I should because I'm on this diet.
Just owning that decision fully.
Yes, owning your choices. All of your choices have consequences, good and bad, right? Own the choice. And it's okay if that choice, the consequence isn't always health related, right? Okay, sometimes I want the pad thai or the drunken noodles because I'm enjoying the taste of it and I'm prioritizing
I love that
over
Thai
health.
food's always our example.
It has to be because I had drunken noodles for lunch yesterday during a work day by myself. Like I had a whole thing of drunken noodles. But like sometimes I own that choice and that does not go directly in line with my health goals, but I wanted it for different reasons, right? So own your choices because if you say I should, or, oh, well, my coach says, or, oh, I'm really trying to diet right now, you're directly competing with yourself when it comes to behaviors. You're having this internal conflict where half of your brain is like, oh, I shouldn't, but I really want to, right? Versus saying, you know what? I'm choosing this. It has to be your choice. This is not because if a coach ever says they're making you do something, run. Like no coach is making you do anything. They should walk you through options. And then which of those options are you willing to work on right now? Some you might not be willing to work on, and that's okay. But you got to own your choices. And if you can start to say it out loud or write it down, it becomes more real, where again, brain science wise, you're more likely to act in that new way if you say, oh yeah, I can become a person who does that. I just haven't chosen to up to this point, but I'm doing that now. A lot of times I'll have clients like do this exercise and I tell them like dream up, okay, Jillian, I want you to dream up, what does Jillian 2.0 look like? How does that chick show up every day? What does her routine look like? Obviously every day changes. There's going to be stuff that there's going to be hiccups, but like in your dream life, how would you show up? I want you to write that down and let's start showing up like that girl, right? And this, I think, is a quote from Atomic Habits. So if I'm misquoting it, I apologize. But every action is a vote for the type of person you want to become. As you continue to make those small conscious choices, now your brain is checking, oh, I actually am this type of person who does work out. Oh, I'm becoming a healthy person. Oh, I'm becoming somebody who can drink more water throughout the day. Like, no matter how simple the thing is, a lot of people wait for motivation. Action breeds motivation because you start to have this sense of, oh, I can do the things I say I'm going to do, and I can show up for myself in the same way that so many of you guys show up for your significant other, for your children, for your jobs. You show up for your friends. You show up for all these other people in your life. You need to start giving your brain evidence that you can show up for yourself too, because then you start to be able to accomplish all sorts of goals because you realize like, oh, wow, I'm actually capable of things that I've been discrediting myself for all this time. It's pretty astounding what you can do by just starting with saying, you know what, this is a choice and this is the person I'm becoming.
Totally. And you know what? If I needed to work out at 5 p.m. and my life changed, then that's what I would have to do, right? And I would have to evolve and I would have to make that shift. But I don't have to. Same with like food right now, right? Like,
and you're not willing to right now, which is you're owning your choice and saying, I'm not willing to do that. So, okay, cool. Which options can we get our workouts in, right?
Like, get my ass out of bed and do it in the morning.
Yeah, that's part of this process is you have to be honest with yourself with the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's not just, we don't expect you to just want to make all the changes.
Yep. Yeah. And like with food right now, I am generally, my husband is the cook in the household. I definitely lack the skill set, which is fine. I also have not chosen to make any improvements because I haven't needed to. But my husband's work schedule has changed and it has been so hard for us to sit down and have a meal together these days, especially with like kid getting older, sports, whatever. I know a lot of parents can relate. For me, the solution was I order a local meal prep. I order chicken in bulk. I order steak in bulk. That is just what works for this season of life. It's crazy. And I'm like, I got to make sure all three of us still fuel our bodies. So that is how I go about it. I still do a little bit of grocery shopping, but I do Instacart, right? Like I know if I don't get this brought to me and I can focus on other things, like that delegation is worth it to me. So it's not always going to be financial. It's not always a means of delegating something out but it's just removing the barrier for the thing that you're trying to do in whatever
you don't like
that means.
You don't like working out in your basement because it's kind of dingy? Cool. Bring your free weights upstairs. You don't like going to the gym because you're a little intimidated by equipment? Okay. Why don't you go and just work out in one corner with dumbbells and get yourself used to it, right? So we're always making it a little bit more attainable for whatever you are willing to challenge yourself with. And then eventually you become accustomed to it and you're like, wow, I've got this. But yeah, we have so many tools right now to make things simpler on ourselves. Sometimes it's just about that, like finding practical solutions.
I love it. Okay. So let's give them action plan for today to walk away with. If somebody's listening and trying to make a change today, or they've been trying and they feel stuck, where do they start?
I would say reverse engineer your goal. If you have a goal, don't focus on the outcome. Pick an action that you can do daily or 3 times a week or whatever that habit is. Whatever that is, shrink it down, right? Shrink it down and make it really attainable. What can you do on your worst week, on your hardest week? Okay, on my hardest week, I could probably only get 2 lifts in right now during this life season. Cool. Let's shrink that down. Now, can I anchor it or can I make it more accessible for myself, right? Maybe I put it in my calendar and I time block it out, because if not, I end up having calls with clients and my day gets away from me, right? Okay, so I'm going to do that to make sure it's part of my schedule. I'm going to make it obvious by having my gym clothes ready to go. Or if I'm out and about picking somebody up from school, we're going right on our way home. We're not going home first, right? We're making it easy. Now, these are strategies we didn't really get into, but like celebrate those wins by writing them down or sharing them with somebody. Track your streak, because that's a little motivational dopamine hit to be like, hey, I've checked this box every week. Or, hey, last week I only checked it twice, and this week I checked it 3 times. Progress. I'm competing with myself, right? Create these regular reviews of said habit, because the more and more you do it, the more it's going to become that unconscious new habit that just is part of your life, right? A lot of times a year in, our clients are like, whoa, I didn't even realize that this is just what I do now. I don't even have to worry about it anymore. And I'm like, whoa, that's what we're aiming for, right? Like when we started and you were like, this isn't hard enough. Did you ever think that you wouldn't have to worry about it because it's just part of your life? Like, how cool. So start small and just be really consistent, and compete in consistency, not in hardcoreness or how intense the thing is. Compete with how consistent can you be in whatever the new habit is. And then, yeah, like create systems. You don't like make the habit you want to break harder, make the habit you want to do easier. Make it obvious, make it more fun. We are better served to create systems to set our future self up for success than we are to rely on motivation. Motivation is fleeting. Systems are what's going to create discipline and ultimately habits, and the habits are going to make it way easier someday, but it probably will take time, right? I'm almost 35. Okay, if I've been doing something a certain way for 34 years, it's going to take more than 2 months.
Give yourself a little grace.
Yeah, right. So, and again, that action then breeds momentum and it breeds motivation, and then you want more action, right? So if you're like stuck and waiting for a day to feel motivated, start with acting, because that's actually doing the thing is going to give you that little fire up that makes you want to do another thing. So yeah, that's it. DM us if you have a tiny habit that you're working on. Tag us in your habit. I know in the past we've done little habit challenges. Share it. If you want to share it, tag us. Maybe come up with, I had a client once who, with her friend, every month they came up with a new habit where it was like, okay, this month we're going to focus on running every Wednesday. This month we're going to focus on water intake. Do something like that and share it with a buddy or share it with us and tag us for accountability, but just start with one little step. So if you like our podcast also, please share with your friends. I feel like we've gotten a lot of really great feedback in the last few episodes. So if you would like to support us, thank you. The way you can do that is by sharing and tagging your friends in this stuff, because we really are hoping to just help more people through these episodes.
Thanks, guys. That is all for this episode, and we will see you next time.